It's your audio and video companion to the nightly news. Each episode is a shortcut to exciting campus events and campus resources. Perfect for a quick break or your daily commute to campus. We'll keep you in the loop with what's happening around Marian University, Indianapolis. I'm Karen Candlish, the Dean of Students, and this week I'm joined by Jalynn Edwards and Angelica Smith. Welcome.
Hey.
Happy to have you. Okay. Jalynn is our multicultural student success coach. She graduated from Marian University, like the best place to graduate from.
Agree.
In 2023 with an undergraduate degree in communication. Angelica, director of the Unity Center in Multicultural Programs from Chicago, Illinois. Holding 2 degrees from IU Bloomington, undergraduate degree in criminal justice, and master's in higher education and student affairs.
Yeah, I almost said something when you said the best place to graduate, but then I had to remember where I was.
You're at Marian.
I'm not trying to get jumped.
But I also have it. We talked about this because you're basically a podcast regular.
Yes.
This is your second time on the podcast.
Happy to be here. I'm so comfortable.
So comfortable. See, we're gonna start a podcast.
Okay.
You're gonna start one, and then
I'm gonna restart.
And you're gonna restart one.
Yeah.
And then Jalen's gonna start one.
Absolutely.
And then Angelica and I are gonna start one and talk about food.
Okay, cool.
Because this is my favorite thing. It's one of my favorite things to do with you is talk about food.
It's an important thing to talk about because we need food to survive.
I know.
And also
this is just like
to have a good time.
Yeah. I know. It's much more than survival.
Yeah.
For you and for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah. You have the same opinions about food as I do.
I agree.
Which is why I think we should just get together and talk about it.
Okay. Let's
regularly.
do it.
So
we can make the students aware of their options in Indianapolis.
Oh yeah. And this is another idea I have about a food related podcast because I also think Sarah Valana Walter would be good for this.
And Asia.
Oh yeah,
She's
we talked about this.
A legit foodie.
Yeah, Asia Hudson. Yeah. So I think we should talk about food in the city.
Yes.
Well, I swear we're going to start talking about Black History Month, which is the reason we're here today. But we should talk about food in the city because we're in Indianapolis and there's tons of things here. And there's tons on this side of town, like International Marketplace, there's a lot going on. But also, I think we should talk about food on campus.
Okay.
And how, I have a thing for dining commons hacks. So, did you know that as long as the ice cream machine is working, you could have a root beer float?
I just found that out last week.
Okay.
Mind blown.
Right.
I had no idea.
Right.
Wait. Why would you not be able to have?
No, I'm just saying people
don't
put
know.
You don't put it together.
Yeah.
People don't put it together.
I just discovered chili cheese fries. They had
Yeah.
chili.
Wait a
put it on the fries.
Right.
Right.
Right. So people don't think about this. So there is a gap. There's a gap in knowledge that could be filled by a food related podcast where we talk about did you know? So if you have a grilled cheese and they have burger patties on the line, put them together.
And now you got a patty melt.
Exactly.
Wow.
You got a patty melt. And people,
That one I did.
I've done that.
Yeah, I know, but people don't think about it. They also had bacon bits on the salad bar recently, so you could make a loaded fries situation. Yeah, which would be really
I
good.
guess I don't think about the fact that people don't think about this.
They don't think
So
about
that
it.
is blowing
They
my
just
mind.
take it as it is, which valid.
No,
That's fine,
no,
but,
students, stop doing that. Get
I know.
creative in the dining commons.
I know. So there's a gap in knowledge.
Wow.
Yeah. I make bagel sandwiches a lot.
Yeah.
We need to be putting this out there.
I mean, this does connect to Black history, though, because I think a big piece of it is innovation. That's what we're talking about. So.
Okay, wait. Say more about that. What is Black history and innovation? How do those things relate?
Yeah, well, we were talking in the Unity Center yesterday about, it's more so Eden, saying, did you know so-and-so invented this, and, someone invented this, and all these people are Black. And I think that that's a part of the history and the culture is, for a lot of Black people, we were brought to America under circumstances that we could not control. And so similarly to how we were talking before we started recording about, just making the best of the situation that you're in, a lot of Black people did that, and that's part of our heritage. So even when you think about soul food, that is a culmination of the pieces of food that nobody else wanted, that are now these dishes that you can't go without in a Black household. We went down to South Carolina for a conference in November, and we learned a lot about Gullah Geechee culture and how they their flip on food and just culture and just different things that you have to kind of build the plane as you fly it because nobody is creating this for you. And so I think about that with a lot of features of just Black culture and historically how those things have kind of compile over time.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk a lot about, as people of faith, being created in the image of God, and I think that when you create, that is like the closest that you get to being of God. And so I take a lot of pride in coming from a culture that just does that almost without thinking. So that's why when you say like people aren't thinking about that, I'm like, that's mind blowing to me, because like I make blizzards in there all the time. When they have Oreos in the salad bar, or even if we have them in the Unity Center, I'll just go, or do my cereal and my ice cream.
I love it. Yeah, cereal, ice cream.
So I could go all day, but I have a lot of different. I would love to talk about that.
I know.
I would love to talk about
that.
this is.
I knew there was something. Yeah. There was something here. So let's keep talking about Black History Month. So it's February now. It's something that we're doing. The events are rolling out of the Unity Center. So we talked about innovation, kind of building something. I love what you said about creativity and being close to God when you're creating things. I think that's so beautiful. But what else about Black History Month is why is that such a important thing for everyone to celebrate and honor and know more about Black history in general? Not just in February.
Right.
Why is it important to be knowledgeable and to honor that history?
Yeah, I think on a very basic level, like the Black culture is rained on society, and a lot of the things that we say and do and use are because of Black people. So when we say things like it's giving, that's African American vernacular English. And so I think that knowing like the innovators, the creators, who makes what that we use every day, like, and everybody knows like a George Washington carver, things like that, but like really diving into like the people who made, what's her name? She's from Indianapolis.
Madam C.J. Walker.
Madam C.J. Walker, a good one to know because she's relevant to our city.
Which I didn't know until I moved here.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, and so I think like starting in your community, whether you're from Indianapolis or you're from Chicago or you're from Detroit, like knowing who the movers and shakers in your community are is a big deal. Yeah. It helps you to understand the people around you, because even if the other Black people around you might not know, it's important to like be able to open that conversation with them.
Yeah. I want to echo that. I think it's also important when we talk about Black student retention and success at school, they have to have something to be grounded in. And I remember when I was at IU, and I mean, like, I had a blast, don't get me wrong, but college is hard when you're a first generation in general. So add being Black woman and out of state on top of that, it was a really challenging time sometimes. And I would sit and think, like, I would have these meta moments where I'm like, my ancestors literally like survived so that I could be here. So this finite class is not about to take me out. Like I had to dig really deep to feel like and know and believe that I was capable of doing the thing that so many people thought that I wasn't capable of doing, whether that be folks from back home or my professors in Bloomington. And people don't outwardly say that, but you can feel the energy of like, maybe you should consider doing this. You know what I mean? And that's a slight way of saying like, you're not built for this. And it's like, my ancestors built the pyramids. I am built for this. You know what I mean? So I think that when it just comes to confidence and assuredness of going out for the debate team or being the president of an organization or really excelling in your classes or taking that internship or studying abroad, all of that comes back down to, do you believe that you deserve it, and do you believe that you're capable of like having it and maintaining it? And I think that that's directly connected to our Black student retention. So when we talk about like the Black Leadership Initiative or UBI or like we were talking the citywide chapters and everything, like those are all connected to the bigger fabric of how are we serving these students who, are oftentimes just in our neighborhood, in our backyard, and making sure that they can go out into the world and be productive.
And I think letting them know that like history isn't just what happened in the past, it's happening right now.
Yeah.
I mean, even with the Grammys, history was made. Doechii was the third Black woman to win, Rap Album of the Year.
Yeah.
Kendrick Lamar won in all 5 categories he was nominated in, off of a diss track nonetheless.
That is insane.
Beyonce won in one of the only categories she's never won in. And those were big wins for the Black community.
Yeah.
And so it's happening all the time, every day.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I think that's interesting too. So we talked a little bit about like Black history past, right? But Black history present. And So we were also talking about, right, being in the city as it relates to food, but also being in the city as it relates to Black history that's being created here. So are there things that you can think about that students or community members could get involved in the Indianapolis community, or events they could go to, or different organizations that are here that are working towards creating that current Black history? Like one of the things I think about, for example, is like Gang and Butter.
Yeah, I was thinking of
So, like that is supporting Black artists and giving all proceeds from an art fair basically to Black artists. But are there other things? The citywide chapters is another thing that comes to mind for me. Like what are those, and how do students get involved in stuff like that?
Yeah, so the citywide chapters are the National Panhellenic Council organizations, and they feature students from different campuses. So Butler, Marion, IUI, a few others. I always get kind of iffy on like which ones have allowed Greek life to be a part of it, but pretty much across the city of Indianapolis you can be in these chapters, and those organizations in themselves are change makers in the Black community because they came out of a time where college students were not allowed to be a part of other fraternal organizations. And so in order for them to build community on their campuses, primarily HBCUs, but Indiana is really special because we have two of the organizations that were not founded at HBCUs. They were founded in Indiana, one at Butler University and one at Indiana University.
Cool.
And so there's Black history even in that. But just being able to raise up social causes, do the middle management of like, hey, we deserve more, and hey, we're going to educate our own because we know that you all are not going to get what you need, like culturally affirming from the world, because everybody got their own priorities, you know what I mean?
I would say Future Black Leaders Incorporated is something that is getting more light in our community. We have a few students that are engaged in that, and it's really just an opportunity for students to build their leadership skills, find empowerment in community, things like that.
Yeah.
I would say here at Marion, like, we have a really great like anchor to the Black community on campus, and that's the Major Taylor Velodrome. Major Taylor was like one of the first Black cyclists.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people know that. They're just like, oh, the cycle
That's where we
tracks.
park.
Yeah.
That's where we park at. That's where the bus
That's
picks
where we
us
get the
up.
shuttle.
But I think that is a great anchor to open that up for at least our campus.
Yeah.
We live in a Black neighborhood.
Yeah.
We're right in the middle of that, and so, you know, when you go out to the gas station or you're driving down to Chipotle, and you see these people, this is their community. This is where they live, this is where they raise their children, this is where they've been raised. Their hands have built this neighborhood.
Yeah.
So when you have opportunities to do service at places like Flanner House, or maybe the MLK Center, being immersed in the community with the people that are here, asking them questions about their families and the history here, I think is just a good step of engaging in that.
Spoken like a Marion grad.
Yeah, truly.
Jalynn, you're a Marion grad, and I did want to talk about this just for a little bit. So we're going a little off topic, but sort of not. But talk a little bit about how you got to Marion as a student, and also how you got back to Marion as a staff member. This is something I like to ask Marion alumni when they're on the podcast.
For sure. So I'm from Hammond, Indiana, which is about 20 minutes outside of Chicago. It's a predominantly Black and Latino community that I come from. I come from Bishop Knoll Institute, which is, again, a predominantly Black and Latino high school. I came to Marion by way of San Damiano scholarship. My good friend Jackie graduated the year before me and came here as Sandom, and my aunt was like, "You're gonna do that," and I was like, "Whatever you say, man." Marion's the only school I visited. The 21st Century Scholar Program is really what sealed the deal for me. That's pretty much how I got here. I decided to be a communication major because I wanted to do radio broadcasting. Somebody once told me, like, you know, you should do what you love, and I love to talk. So I was like, that's perfect. The major looks a little different now than when I was here, which is crazy because I was only here like 2 years ago. But it was all super valuable stuff to me, being a part of the Sondom program, being a 21st Century Scholar. I lived in Doyle for 4 years.
Oh, yeah,
because I was an RA.
Yeah.
That's my fun fact. So I was an RA. I was in UBI, Seoul, I was the president of Alliance for a couple of years. I worked everywhere on campus, athletics, the Unity Center, advancement. I'm sure I'm forgetting other places.
Oh, yeah.
You name it, I worked there.
Everybody knew you.
Yeah. And then my senior year, I was a student body president, which was super awesome. During my time doing that, I implemented the vice president for diversity, equity, and inclusion. So that was a big win for me. It took a lot of work, a lot of energy, and a few tears. But while I was here, I struggled a lot. I'm not necessarily like an academically driven student. I really struggled when I was here at first because I had never consciously experienced racism. And then I did while I was here. And that was really difficult for me because I didn't know anything was wrong. I didn't know I was different. Like, people were calling me ghetto, and I was like, what? I don't know why you're saying that to me. I was in an FYS class that took us around the city to show us like our community and stuff. And my professor would be like, Jalynn, what do you think of this neighborhood? And I'd be like, this looks like Gary, Indiana. This looks like home. I don't know. I'm not uncomfortable. And my classmates would be like, this is so sketchy. And I'd be like, this is where people live. So that was really hard for me. And David Hall, the inaugural director of the Unity Center, really helped me navigate that space. I graduated in 4 years, literally by the grace of God. Shout out to Dr. O. I would not have graduated without her. And then I came to visit Fran Cardenas one day, and she had been telling me to apply for this like success coaching position, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then Angelica was like, you have to do this.
You go.
And I was like, no, I think I'm gonna move to Michigan, like, don't even worry about it. And she was like, no, I like really think you should do this. And so I applied for the job, I interviewed, and then Angelica called me like right as I was leaving to go home for like celebrating Christmas with my family, and then I put in my resignation on Christmas Eve.
You do a lot as an employee, and you help students significantly with really like important and impactful things, and so you're doing I think you're doing a great job too. I work with you often in trying to make sure that we're providing support to students, so I'm grateful that you're here for sure.
I'm super happy to be here.
Yeah. Something that's a theme that's coming up that I feel like is we have to remember that intersectionality, right, the intersection of our identities, impacts our experience. And we shouldn't let certain identities, or even one identity, get lost in the intersectionality either, right? We have to like lift that up and remember that this is an important piece of who we are. So I just want to like say that out loud, that it's kind of coming up. If you want to add anything.
That's a conversation that I think we have a lot. Just intergroup dialogue. There's like this thing sometimes where you'll be asked, well, I've been asked like, well, are you black or are you a woman? And I'm like, I'm literally both. Like,
what?
I can't separate those identities because they inform each other in my experience in the world. And I feel almost insulted when asked that question, because you're asking me to put one of my identities to the back burner for whatever cause. And I'm like, I think that I can exist in all these ways, and I do exist in all these ways all the time. And that goes along with being an American citizen and being the eldest daughter and being Christian. And you know what I mean? It's like so many things that I carry with me all the time. And I've always felt personally connected to that. Like, there's the high school trope of the different tables or whatever for the different cliques. And in high school, I literally sat at every single table. Like, I was an athlete, so I was cool with the athletes. I was a gifted child. I was in honors and AP, so I sat with the nerds. I was from the hood, so I sat with people who might have been experiencing poverty. But I also know what it's like to have a little bit of money, because I experienced that too. And so it's just like, I never have felt like I can be put into a box. And I think that this is going to be kind of on the nose, but I think that that's why the Unity Center was a good fit for me professionally, because that is what it's about. Like, we're not trying to put a label or a box, or like, we're not trying to put a label on anyone or put you into a box. So I think that just tying everything back to why this is important, we need more spaces like that so that people can feel like their full selves and can reach the potential or the whatever God had designed for them, that they can like actually attain that. And we're not going to do that by putting labels and boxes on people.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about events that happen in the Unity Center. One of those is Talk It Out Tuesday. So there's a Talk It Out Tuesday every week this month and beyond this month too. So what is that? What happens at those?
Yeah. So Talk It Out Tuesday is a sustained dialogue program. Basically, it happens every week, like you said, on Tuesday over the lunch hour, and we invite different folks to come in and lead a conversation based on various topics. So for Black History Month, all of those topics are connected back to Black culture in some way, but they vary. So we'll have one that's happening literally right now is on love languages, because it's February and this is the month of love and everything. But we're talking about how to identify your love languages or what those are, and Dr. Turner is leading that conversation. We're going to have one where we talk about Black hair and what it looks like to care for your hair, and Eden will lead that. So these are like professional folks who have we've reached out to them and said, hey, we know you're really passionate about this. Would you like to come and talk with our students about it? And literally yesterday in staff meeting, one of our student staff members was like, I love Talking Out Tuesday. I think the conversation that we have here is really rich. It is the same people a lot of the time, but it's different topics. And so you get to see the people shine in different ways. Somebody might talk a lot on this topic where they don't really talk much on this, or they don't have much to give, and people are always learning. And so I think that that's really cool. If I'm not mistaken, that's an initiative that David started when he was here. And so it feels really cool to continue that legacy as his predecessor. No, what's the one out? Successor. And to give students a place to talk, because like Jalynn said, she likes to talk, I like to talk, they love to talk. So we talked about the natural hair one, that'll be on the 18th, February 18th. And then the last one, so to what you were saying, the students, so our first Tuesday back, I said, I'm fresh out of ideas for Talk It Out Tuesday, so let me bring the students in and see what they want to talk about. And it happened to be on a Tuesday where they would have been in there anyway. So I just had my lunch and my notebook, and I was writing as they were talking. And one of the things that they really kept harping back to was mental health. But they said that we don't want to hear from professionals. We don't want you to bring anyone in. We want to just have a conversation where we can just flow and talk about what we got going on with mental health. So that is going to be our last Talk It Out Tuesday on the 25th. I got my notes right here. On the 25th. And it's just an open forum.
Nice.
Yep.
I love that.
We'll intervene if we need to, but for the most part, we're gonna let them take the reins.
Yeah, I love that. What else should we look forward to for Black History Month at Marion?
I'm really, really excited. St. Joe's is having a Finish the Lyrics event on February 21st at 6 p.m. over there at Huntington Hall. So I'm excited for that, just to get outside of main campus and take our students over to St. Joe's, because a lot of our Black students who are part of the Unity Center are also St. Joe's students. And we've seen a link between students coming over to do the 4-year Marion program because of St. Joe, which is what all of our goal is, right? So I've been really excited about that. And then we have the Soulful Dinner, UBI's annual event, is going to be on the 28th. So that's all up on Qualtrics and everything, RSVP, Black Type Bear, the whole shebang. I'm pretty sure Dr. Turner is speaking for that. So we got him busy for Black History Month.
Welcome to Marion, Dr. Turner.
Exactly. And he's loving it. He's eating it up. He's like having such a good time with the students. And then I skipped a little bit, but we also are bringing a Black History Month performance by the Freetown Village, and that's going to be hosted by the Department of History and Global Studies. I was going to say affairs. I'm like, that's not the name of it. So that'll be 2 nights, the 25th and the 26th.
Oh,
and
cool.
all of this stuff will be on social media as well, on the Unity Center page. But I just want to say that this was an effort that was a whole committee. So folks from St. Joe's, folks from the Inclusive Leadership Team here on main campus, Dr. Turner with the Black Leadership Initiative, Eden, you know what I mean? Like, this was a very large effort. So I just had to put that out there, because we wouldn't have it without the whole crew. And we wanted to feel popping on campus. We wanted to feel like there's something going on every day, every week. So we also have on Fridays, we're encouraging all Black students, faculty, and staff to wear something that represents their culture, their heritage. So whether that be like traditional African wear or HBCU affiliated, I know Henry and I and a lot of other folks are part of the Divine Nine, so we'll wear our paraphernalia and things like that. We want for that culture and that pride to be shown, so we're calling it Unity Fridays.
I saw that.
And so every Friday we're doing that. And then Crystal in our K-12 Pathways programs is leading a social media charge where she's talking about the Black Saints and helping our students understand, you know, what they were about on social media. So that's called Monday Minutes with the Say. So we do have a lot going on, and we want people to be engaged with it. But overall, it's really fun, and the students seem to be receiving it well so far. I know we just started, but so far it's going pretty good.
Nice. Well, it's always fun to chat with both of you.
Yeah, same.
We did this yesterday with no mics. No mics yesterday. But I always find that we have good conversation, and I'm glad that you could come and talk to me about food and Black history and everything that's going on campus. So thanks for being here.
Of course. So we're going to have lunch after?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know if it's been caught on the mics, but my stomach is rumbling.
I mean,
So we gotta go eat. But that's a wrap for this episode of Nightly Highlights. To get the full scoop on these stories and more, check out the Nightly News delivered to your inbox Sundays at 5 p.m. Thanks for tuning in.